Since the time of the French Revolution, whose history is as one with the spread of Freemasonry across the European continent, the Church has been clearly aware that its spiritual struggle today, more than in other times, is concentrated in the field of ideas. These are, as seen in the last class, the means preferred by the devil, who cannot penetrate the strength of our will, to incline us and induce us to sin, persuading our intelligence that what he knows to be evil undesirable is good, undesirable, wicked. Now, the role that Masonic ideas play in this struggle, clearly in favor of the devil, can be seen without any problem if one considers that, from its origins, Freemasonry is characterized as a strongly indifferentist secular religion. This is attested by, among others, one of the first documents of the Church concerning the sect of the Freemasons, of whose societies men of every religion and sect satisfied with an affected appearance of natural honesty. In addition to its secrecy, one of the most serious crimes of Freemasonry is its perverted doctrine, which today seems to have taken hold of not a few souls, even those outside Masonic circles and conventicles. It is a doctrine which, as stated above, is counted with an affected appearance of natural honesty, as if man were capable of attaining salvation by himself, without any need either of Christ or of the Church or the people, their means of sanctification. And since the redemption and consequently the grace of Christ is not necessary, those who hold to this doctrine affirm that man can be saved irrespective of the religion he professes, because all of them, they conclude, are equally good, being distinguished only in secondary and external aspects, despite the good or bad intentions that its adherents may have. There is no doubt that this doctrine is in itself one of the most diabolical instruments of Satan, who uses it to, with subtle lies under the guise of tolerance, very human and very corded, to keep as many souls as possible away from the Catholic Church, from her healthy doctrine, and from the means of sanctification that Christ himself entrusted to her, so that men of all times and places could arrive safely at the most copious fruits of his redemption. Freemasons can even publicly present themselves as a mere philanthropic and humanitarian group, or even as an association of free spirits, interested only in science and the progress of humanity. But it is still true that they constitute, yes, a form of secular religion. They have their temples, their liturgy, with the appropriate decorations and clothing, their statues and norms, their initiation rites, their doctrine, contrary to Catholic exclusivism, which is believed to be the only true religion. It is evident that the doctrine of the Freemasons, by the same logic, intends to be above all other doctrines and systems. Only it has a privileged perspective of the condition and man's destiny. It alone possesses the science of what is really necessary for the full realization of souls, while the other religions are nothing more than childhood, to which the less enlightened cling. However, this did not stop them from trying to carry out the ultimate intention of their projects, namely to destroy from the foundations all the religious and political discipline that was born from Christian institutions, and to replace it with a new one in accordance with the ideas. Then, as lamented by Pope Leo XIII, who saw closely the result of the machinations of Freemasonry, to weaken the moral and spiritual power of the Catholic Church over the society and consciences. It is true that in 1921, during the pontificate of Pius XI, the conciliation between the Holy See and the Italian state was finally celebrated. However, the Pope thought it opportune to preserve the prayers at the end of the Mass, but changing their intention. Now, one should not pray for peace of Italy in Rome or for the Pontifical States, now extinct, but for Christian freedom in Russia, oppressed at the time by Soviet communism in power since 1970. In addition, Pius XI raised his voice against Masonic and socialist forces in Mexico and Spain, against the false ideas that were already circulating about abortion and birth control, thus having one of the pontificates in which the fierce clash of ideas that the Church has been fighting in recent times is most clearly seen. Today, in particular, we are witnessing the continuous growth of an ideological project with a strong educational nature, which seeks to impose certain ideas at all costs. For this purpose, a new inquisition was instituted, installed in the courts and in companies, in schools and in virtual media, in charge of preserving, unharmed and unquestioned the orthodoxy of political correctness, persecuting dissidents and silencing their voice. In a sense, what the globalist agenda does today, with its tyrannical imposition of lies such as gender ideology and extremely perverse practices such as abortion, is the almost literal realization of what Leo XIII said in his exorcism, referring to political action of the Freemasons of today. He set himself up as a magistrate, setting himself up as Satan's chair to lead into error, not to light, all nations trying, if possible, to intoxicate with the wormwood of their iniquities, heresies, lust, lie, corruption, even the children of the church. Given this, what can we do? We can and must pray, not only reinforce our usual prayers, but going beyond. Although a simple lay people, we do not have any jurisdiction in the Church nor, therefore, the authority to celebrate any sacramental, as is the case with exorcism properly so called. We can nevertheless do two things. Often carry our prayers of liberation, that is, addressed to one of the same people, Trinity, to the Virgin Mary, to some saint of our devotion, to the holy angels, etc., in order to ask for their help in the hour of temptation. These prayers can be brief and fervent ejaculations, spontaneous supplications, or some already institutionalized prayers. The true prayers to Saint Michael the Archangel belong to this last class. For example, the smallest and best known, which was previously recited at the end of the Mass, and the largest and least known, which, despite being part of an exorcism ritual, can indeed be prayed by any believer, precisely as a prayer of liberation addressed to the Prince of the Heavenly Militia. To do what is called non-sacramental exorcism, like the Saint Benedict medal, since we all receive from Christ by virtue of baptism and without a need for ecclesiastical jurisdiction, the power to expel the devil not from the whole church, but from our diocese or parish, but of our own life, and if we are fathers or mothers of families, of our home. These prayers, let it be clear, should only be used with humility and prudent discretion, that is, privately, without giving others occasion for scandal or confusion, regarding the doctrine on the essential distinction between lay people and priests. As a general principle, we should only turn to them in case of reasonable necessity, for example, during a more intense temptation, or if the prayers of deliverance are not sufficient. As such, non-sacramental exorcisms are explicitly addressed to the devil, commanding him to leave us alone by virtue of the authority with which we have been clothed as baptized into Christ. They must not be done in public. We repeat, not too often, but in spirit, of faith and humility. These two virtues are our great weapons in this fight. If we keep the faith and are humble, we will emerge victorious in the battle, because just as the devil was thrown from heaven by his pride, so it is also by our humility that we overcome him, resisting his onslaughts and surrendering ourselves like poor and defenseless children into the merciful arms of Christ, without whom we can do nothing on our own. In this battle, let us always be humble, like Saint Michael, and never assume the air of unbeatable bullies. The devil knows how to attack us, but we are sure that we are already have the victory, if we remain faithful to Christ and subject to protection, which he offers us through the ministry of his holy angels.